Welcome to the Period Besties Podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Period Besties Podcast. We are so excited. We are actually doing a live period coaching session today with Stacey. We're so excited and honored to talk about perimenopause and all the things that come along with it. So join us today as we coach and share advice and next steps that are realistic and will be manageable to add into your busy day. So come along and join us for our period coaching session with Stacey. We're so excited to have you with us, and we're just going to get into it.
Let's do it. I'm so excited to be here.
Talk to us about what is going on.
So I am 46. I have 3 children. And I'm just in it. My kids now are in 3 different schools on 3 different buses at 3 different times and come home at 3 different buses at 3 different times and then reach out to us randomly throughout the day telling us they're either staying or not staying or going or not going or wanting to go or this or that, and then drive everyone that I know home. So that's kind of our baseline. Yeah, so it's just kind of hectic here. And I am really just trying to figure out, I guess, day by day in life in general. And I have really just been researching a lot about perimenopause and cycle changing and hormones and all of that fun stuff that us women of this certain age are going through. And I'm lucky enough to be in New York, where there are lots of amazing events and support and groups. And so I've attended a bunch of events lately talking about all of these things. And I learned through one of them that September is Perimenopause Awareness Month. And the 22nd was Perimenopause Awareness Day. So I had a big party. But just interesting things like that it can start at 30, which sounds nuts, and that we need to be kind and talking to ourselves, and it's hormones and not us, and those we love around us and our partners need to educate themselves. I guess you can say husbands, because a partner would be a woman probably also going through it. So our husbands need to educate themselves. Yeah, and so what I've learned in my cycle is there are certain times throughout the cycle that I definitely can feel dips in my hormones, usually around like ovulation time. And when I went for my annual to my male doctor in June, I talked to him about this, and he said, I'm going to put you on birth control. He said, your choices are birth control or an SSRI. And I did not want to go on an SSRI. So I went on birth control, and I tried for 4 months and did not feel any better. So I called him back and I said, I don't feel any positive changes. I feel some negative changes. I'm not so into this anymore. So I just went off of it at the beginning of September when school started, because I wanted to do everything at the same time. And here I am. And I'm just really trying to figure out if this is like an eat more kale situation or how we can manage. And I think it's so important to be having this conversation loudly and with as many people as possible, as often as possible, because we are 50% of the population. Anyone, God bless them, that lives this long is going through this. And I keep saying I'm in the opposite of pre-puberty. So puberty is this big time that's exciting and all these kids grow and this and that. But I feel like if you have a daughter, when they're like 10 or 11, your doctor starts saying, oh, they're in pre-puberty. So I feel like I'm on the opposite side of that now, where I'm not in menopause. I'm in like premenopause or like perimenopause. I think that just trying to navigate that and figuring out what to do to manage my emotions and all that fun stuff.
So we have a bunch of questions for you to get a
Go
lay of
for
the
it.
land. My first question out of the gate is, are your periods still regular, or are you are they shortening, lengthening? Like, what's the average length of your
Okay.
cycle?
So strangely, before I had kids, my periods were super irregular. And then I was on the pill for many years, and then I had kids, and then my period became very regular. And it was maybe like, I think it was about 28 days. And then I noticed that there was an app on my phone, and I started tracking it just for my own knowledge. And then I noticed that I want to say even a couple years ago, it was like hard fast at 24 days. It hasn't varied and gotten shorter, but it now has been consistently 24 days for as long as I can remember that I started tracking. So I think it's probably been a couple of years.
Right.
I have not gotten it since I've been off this birth control for the last 4 months. So when I was on that off week, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going back on this. So I haven't yet gotten it. But if my calculations are correct, I'm in right now like day 21-ish. So we'll see in a few days.
What was happening when you went to your doctor? Like, what were you experiencing? I know you mentioned a little bit of that PMS. Like, what kind of was a catalyst for them to suggest and offer birth control? Like, what was happening hormonally that you were noticing that was coming to the surface a little bit more, as we should say?
So I feel like my main concern is I feel like I have rage. And I think that what I always say, we're always quick to be the ones to blame ourselves on these things. But the other day, my kids didn't clean something up that I've been asking them for weeks to clean up, that they told me they cleaned up. And then I went in that room and it wasn't cleaned up and I lost it. And I was like, okay, maybe today is the day that the rage comes out. I'm like, or maybe I'm just really annoyed that I asked my kids to do this and they didn't do it and they told me they did. And maybe I need to, in all of these conversations, just being kinder to yourself. So maybe I'm blaming myself for reacting to something that I have every right to react to. But of course, as a woman, internalizing it and saying, oh, it must be my hormones. That I feel like that I've been able to pinpoint to this time in my cycle where I've ovulated and it's like 2 days later. And that's really what I want to get under wraps or under control, I guess. I mean, I'm sleeping okay. I'm not having any type of hot flashes. I mean, I have 3 kids, which is why I started with that, as in urinary problems. I happily have spoken about how we all pee in our pants nonstop, which I have been having for quite some time. So I don't want to blame that on perimenopause. But I don't know. I feel like I want to eat like bread that's just filled with progesterone or something. I want to figure out how I can like lick progesterone off a tree because I've done so much research and I feel like that's what I need when I took this pill, which was a low dose, like mini birth control pill, which I think was in fact the same pill I was on 100 years ago when I was on the pill. It didn't do anything. And I feel like the last month I was even more angry. And I said, if I'm feeling worse, why am I taking hormones if it's not helping? And I also felt like so bloated all the time. And I remember I took a picture with someone and I was like, why does my face look so fat? And then it took me like a couple days. I'm like, oh, I wonder if the pill is like making me retain all this water, which I'm sure it was. And so since I stopped taking it, I just feel better. Like I feel less bloated, which is nice. But that's it. I don't know what other symptoms there are that I might not be catching that are part of this, but it's really just that rage post ovulation that I want to figure out how to
You nailed
deal
a
with.
couple things though with that, because when you come out of ovulation, your estrogen dips, and estrogen makes you compliant. It's the hormone that keeps you from killing your children for being idiots, basically. Like it's a compliant hormone. It makes you easier to appease. It makes you nicer. It makes you gentler. It makes you softer. When you're in perimenopause, your estrogen can fluctuate. And when
Yes.
so a normal cycle, you come out of ovulation and your estrogen dips and then it re-ups. But in perimenopause, it can really crash down, right? So this is one of the reasons that they say as you get older, you get less tolerant. And it's because you have less estrogen circling around, estradiol specifically. So you're not wrong on that. In part, it is your hormones are shifting. You're not having the same levels as you used to. And so you're reacting differently because yes, you should be annoyed, But previously, you were a bit mollified by those hormones. And now you're not getting that same level of like chill hormone, basically, which progesterone is also a chill hormone. So if you're not ovulating, which happens in perimenopause, and this is where like Katie and I harp about doing your basal body temperature, because you will get the cervical mucus that says you're ovulating. You may feel more energy because you're trying to ovulate.
Mm-hmm.
You may feel your libido rise because you're trying to ovulate, but then you may not actually ovulate.
Oh, that's
in which
interesting.
case you're not making any progesterone. And the only way to really know if you're ovulating or not is your basal body temperature.
Huh.
So if you're not getting that progesterone, then you're also not getting that chill hormone, right? So you're not wrong. You hit the nail on the head with it is a situation where you are annoyed, and you have every right to be annoyed, and you're not getting the like feel good, chill out hormones in the same amount that you used to. So you're perfectly right about all of it, and you're perfectly within the realm of normal for having those reactions. And yes, it is life, and yes, it is hormones, and yes, it is both. And just having that knowledge when you're in that moment can make you go, oh, right, I know what's happening right now. Like, I'm just not getting enough of the estrogen and progesterone that I used to be getting, and I'm feeling a little more crazy because of it, but it's not a bad thing. I just need to manage my reactions a little better.
So I should say, even though I can't walk into this closet that you promised me you cleaned, if I have a glass of estrogen right now, I'd be totally fine with
It might
it.
be more of a situation where you're like, look, if I walk into this closet and it hasn't actually been cleaned, I'm going to lose my shit. So do you guys want to maybe get in there before I do?
So the estrogen shifts 100% definitely. And it's funny because when I spoke to my doctor, I was like, I've been doing a lot of research and I really would like to talk to you about an estrogen patch. And he was like, no, let's put you on birth control. And I was like,
you might need a different doctor, or if that's like your general practitioner, it might be time to go to an OBGYN or,
he is an OBGYN. And I, through some of the events I went to in the last couple of days, found out that there's like the Menopause Society that shows you all the menopause certified doctors in your area. So I found one who, of course, now I'm sure doesn't take my insurance, but I have to start like researching that. So I have that open. One of the windows in my computer, not in my brain, is. I
always suggest Planned Parenthood because they do take insurance, and they're almost always far more ahead on research and the reality of the situation than most privates. I'm not going to say all, but Planned Parenthood really, they attract younger doctors who have had more recent education, and they stay up on all of the current studies and stuff. If you need somebody, even in the meantime,
it's so interesting because I feel like I think of Planned Parenthood as a place people go for contraception. I've always had an OB who I've gone to for annuals. I've never strayed from just a medical doctor in that way, but it's interesting because I never would have thought to even go to Planned Parenthood as just a woman looking to go to an OB. But that's so interesting. You taught me something new today. Thank you.
Yeah. They're fantastic for anyone who's listening.
That's so cool. No, I mean, and which is one of the reasons why we need to keep them open and support them. That's really interesting. So I'm curious to talk about something that you mentioned about the estrogen, because I thought this was more of like a progesterone thing, but maybe it's like, how do you know which one is like what you need more of or what's causing you the problems?
I want to circle back for 1 second. So let's hold that thought, because I wanted to touch on the pill for a second.
Yes. Okay.
Because this is a really clear, awesome. This is a really clear thing that I think happens to so many women, is that we go to their doctor, we tell them what's happening, and they're putting us on birth control. Now, what is birth control doing? It's stopping our body from ovulating. Mm-hmm. The only way our body produces progesterone is through ovulation. So if you're shutting that down, I'm not shocked at all that you would feel more rage.
That's interesting. And it's funny, when I was at one of these events the other day, I told someone this, and she turns to her friend, she goes, here's another girl they put on birth control. And I was like, it's like I'm a circus monkey.
Yeah. And the birth control has synthetic, it's not progesterone, it's progesterone. Right. Everyone listening, you want to really focus on progesterone, and they have bioidentical hormone replacement therapy that is progesterone, not the synthetic, and the synthetic is what we would really try to avoid as much as possible all the time, and especially during perimenopause. And I actually have a lot of clients that don't actually know if they've gone through menopause because they've been on birth control since they were like 40 years old. They said,
Wow.
stopped having children, and then they've just been on the pill and they're like in their 50s now.
Huh.
So that's also something to think about if you've been on that for a long time. And progesterone is so important for longevity, our bone health, memory, our heart health. So our big thing here is letting everybody know, like, we want to ovulate as long as we can without shutting it down, and how important progesterone is. So I think that's an important key part of the conversation. And then we can circle back to what the hormones are doing. But I think that's something that, and I love that at that event, someone was like, another woman put on birth control.
Well, it's like silent us by putting us on this medicine that's like what you think is the easiest low bar, right? And I feel like that's just consistent with so many things, yada, yada. But hearing it put that way is so incredible because you don't think of it. And also, I think the problem is when you go to your medical doctor who you liked for many years, you trust them. And even though I was like, what? It was like, but you're the doctor and that's why I pay you. I'm not, which is why I don't have a practice. So I'm going to believe what you say until you talk to all these experts. And what's so interesting too, and what's come out so much lately is that in medical school, there's such a small window of talking about menopause. And I don't even know if they talk about perimenopause, that it's like, it's just so interesting that they want to put a Band-Aid on it. And I feel like it's more of a Band-Aid than a resolution. So I think that's a really interesting, thank you. That's an interesting way to frame it. So I'm curious also from a holistic perspective, are there foods you can eat? I'm not talking supplements, but are there, and I joked about kale, but I feel like the answer to everything in life is eat more leafy greens, right? But I said, I have a friend who's the same age as me, and she has a granola company, an amazing granola company. And I said to her, I feel like you should make a line from perimenopause where you have estrogen and progesterone, like enriched granola, like kids eat cereal with like vitamin B. And she's like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. I'm like, can you imagine?
Well, you're not wrong. Actually, granola wouldn't be a bad way to do it because
Right?
seed cycling can be
Plant-based.
really helpful in perimenopause, and you can seed cycle with granola. I mean, it would be super easy to do. Yeah, we joke a lot that you don't have to eat a bucket of kale, but if you want to, no one will stop you. But you don't have to eat a bucket of kale. Leafy greens are good, absolutely. But more importantly is getting in the spectrum, the rainbow of food with your cycle. So having those warm, nourishing things post-ovulation, having more of those fresh, citrusy, leafy greens in from your period to ovulation, that kind of thing. So it's definitely eating well, making sure you're getting all those nutrient-dense food for sure. And especially in perimenopause, you really want to make sure you're getting in that nutrition because your hormones are sputtering. They're firing on and off and pulsing, and they always pulse, but they get real crazy pants in perimenopause. So making sure you're getting like really nutrient-dense foods so that you can make the hormones, so that you are getting all that nourishment. And you want to, one of the things that Katie and I both see in our practice all the time is just not enough protein, not enough fiber. So 30 grams of protein for breakfast is 6 eggs.
Wow.
Yeah, who's eating that much, right? But a couple slices of turkey bacon, a couple of eggs, maybe a slice of cheese or something, right? So
30 grams just for breakfast.
That's what people shoot for, because if you're eating your protein in the morning, it stabilizes your blood sugar for the day.
Okay.
It helps keep your energy up for the day. And you have these building blocks. As you're going through perimenopause, your muscles are atrophying. And that's directly reducing your bone density. So if you're eating that protein and you have higher energy throughout the day, then you're more inclined to work out. You're more inclined to do lifting. You're more, because you have more energy, you feel more stable. So it's one of those things that it's a real cascade domino effect, where if you start the day off with a nice, heavy protein rich meal, the whole rest of the day is way easier.
So it's like what you tell your kids that you think is kind of made up, but it's actually true. Yes. You have to have the building blocks of your day by having a protein-rich breakfast.
It is very true.
You'll crave less sugar too.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but the less amount of protein you have, the more your body will crave sugar.
Mhm.
So if you're supposed to aim for 30 grams of protein for breakfast, what is the like protein trajectory like for the rest of the day?
There's a calculation based on your weight, and I think it's
Okay.
like 1 gram per kilogram, which is of course
Okay.
metric, which for Americans is a whole thing, but Google it
Okay.
for your particular weight. But if you
You
start
lied about weight or your actual
grams,
weight?
but if you start off with that 30 grams, most people will need somewhere around, say, 20 in the next 2 meals.
Okay. Okay. So that's
generally
not
it's not
crazy.
as much. And so
Okay.
like your basic day structure is, if you have a nice protein rich breakfast, have your carbs for lunch. So if you're going to do pasta, have it for lunch. If
Mhm.
you're going to have a sandwich, whatever, have it for lunch. And then have a real veggie heavy meal with some
That's
protein
interesting.
for dinner, right?
That makes sense.
Basically, you're not peaking your blood sugar right before bedtime, essentially. So this is a general gist.
Yeah.
But you need to
And-
have protein and healthy fats in each of those.
So how does intermittent fasting play into that? Because I'm an intermittent faster, and I'll tell you an interesting story of how I got into it. I'm lactose intolerant. No, you're smiling. This is gonna be a good answer. But very quickly, I was eating not healthy but good, like waffles and peanut butter and banana sandwiches. And this was years ago. And I went to a gastroenterologist to deal with my lactose intolerance. And she asked me what I ate. And she said, you need to lose weight, first of all. And I'm like, okay. And then she said, what do you eat for breakfast? And I was like, I make a delicious sandwich with 2 whole grain waffles, peanut butter, and banana for protein and fruit. And she's like, what? And she was like very judgy, which was funny. And I was like, what do you eat for breakfast? And she goes, I have 4 almonds at noon and I'm not hungry the rest of the day. And I was like, bet, okay, on it, challenge accepted. So I started doing it legitimately out of spite and it worked. And I lost all this weight and I started intermittent fasting and I feel great. But I always laugh. And then my friend was like, I've been doing your 5 almond diet and I don't think it works. And I'm like, I don't know what diet you're on. I'm on a 4 almond diet. So I work from home and I now am not really hungry. And so I start at like noon and usually I'll have 4 almonds and then I have no appetite. And I don't know if my body is just trained or if I have no idea. And then we eat most of our meals at home. Generally, my husband's the cook in the family, and he'll do, I think I like to say that we eat healthy. So he'll do a protein, which is usually chicken or fish, and then, or like turkey if it's taco night. And then we always have a vegetable. We usually have a grain, but for the most part, he uses olive oil. He cooks healthy. And then we eat 7:30, and then I don't eat anything after that. And I always laugh with this concept of intermittent fasting because I was like, so you just don't eat after dinner, full stop. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I've always done that. I'm not a snacker. So that part wasn't so weird. The not eating until noon was something that I got used to, but then it like didn't faze me at all. So tell me about that.
Well, where do we start?
Okay.
I do have one question, actually.
Yes.
Are you maintaining your weight or are you gaining weight?
So I've been doing this for years and I do not, in fact, own a scale. So the only time I
Good.
weigh myself is at the annual physical where I'm like, I gain weight. I lost weight. I always joke that my barometer is if my pants fit, I'm good. If they don't, I need to eat less cake.
Yeah. Good. So it sounds like you're basically maintaining then.
So, I mean, there's definitely time where I feel like I gained weight, but I'm also a big walker. I try to walk 3 miles every day and I'm a yogi. I feel like the name of the game of life is moderation, right? Like you can have a big piece of delicious chocolate cake, but not every day.
Just curious, not because of the weight, but more for the metabolism assessment.
Yeah, of course.
You're going to gain weight as you get older, and that's just how life is, and that's okay. I mean, there's the crazy people out there, but for the normal among us, that's just kind of how that goes. But that's just part of the aging process.
Yes.
Anyway, take it away, Katie.
I just want to, if I heard you correctly, your first like meal is at dinner.
Oh, it depends because usually when my kids get home from school and they have a snack, if I'm hungry, I've been having like yogurt and granola, or I'll have a couple like turkey slice roll-ups or something like that, or a piece of cheese. So I graze around when my kids come home and have a snack, and then we eat at 7:30.
Okay. So it sounds like you're under eating. in terms
But I'm
of
not
calories.
losing weight that much, so it doesn't sound like that's the case. Yeah.
That's not how
Yeah.
the body works, though.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
calories in, calories out.
Yeah. And I recently found my love once again for hard-boiled eggs. So I've been making like a dozen hard-boiled eggs and then praising them as I'm peeling them, which I think is just a nice mindful thing that one can do. I feel like all therapy could be solved by peeling hard-boiled eggs and peeling clementines. That should be
Oh,
like
I agree.
mandatory, right?
I give my kids oranges all the time when they're losing it. I'm like, here you go. So intermittent fasting, it's an interesting question because it works really well for men. This is the bulletproof coffee thing that came out. It must be at least 5 years
Yep.
by now that
Yep.
that's
I think like 18 or 19, right? Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is, one of the reasons why you might be experiencing rage is it might be happening not as loud throughout your entire cycle. You just notice it more around that post-ovulation. But if your blood sugar, if you're not eating enough food, when you're hangry, it's harder for your body to regulate emotions and feelings and just hormones too, right? So I think one part of it is taking a closer look at like how much you actually eating a day. You might not even be getting 30 grams of protein the entire day. So I would highly encourage you to, in a kind, loving way, like we're not tracking in as a way to like diet, right? We're tracking to actually see if you're eating enough
I
food,
get
if you're
it.
getting enough nourishment. I love MyFitnessPal. I think it's the easiest free app out there. Put in what you're eating and it will total up your macros for the day.
Ooh.
I would
My
be,
Fitness Pal, it's called.
yeah.
Okay.
I would be super curious to see if you're getting enough protein and also enough healthy fats, because if you're not getting enough healthy fats basically create cholesterol. Cholesterol creates hormones. So you were asking at the very beginning, what do I do? What can I eat for hormones? One is you probably need to eat more food. Two, we also want to make sure you're getting enough healthy fats. We all grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? So we still have this weird stigma because we grew up like that. We had margarine. We never had butter. There was no avocados. I grew up in New Hampshire. So also getting enough.
Remember when Snackwells came out and everyone's like, whoa.
Yes. So it's like kind of nourishment is the name of the game in perimenopause, right? And I love what you mentioned before about just moderation too, because like you're going to have sugar, you're going to have the cake, like you're going to have these things. But a lot of times rage can be a blood sugar imbalance. I think there's probably something going with progesterone as well, just because we're getting closer to like 50, 51, and that's the average age of menopause. But it might be blood sugar. That might be the place to start. And then you're like, oh, I'm feeling so much better. Now I can lift a little bit more weights. Like I can,
that makes sense.
I can walk into the room and just walk out.
Yeah.
And have my husband deal with it. You know, like and I'm saying this because I've noticed it in my life too. I'm 45. I have 4-year-old twins. I know when my body cannot not react. It's like a demon goes inside my body and like I become this person, right? And I'm like, whoa, that wasn't even me. I totally feel you on all of that. And a lot of times I'm like, I didn't sleep well the night before, or maybe I didn't eat enough, or I didn't have enough alone time and enough me time, which we were talking before we hit record about your amazing journey coming up. So I would personally, since you are sleeping well, I would focus on that nourishment part because it's such an important part. And I think a lot of us go to certain doctors who don't get the training in nutrition, who are just sharing what might work for them, but they might be having the rage too. They might not be sleeping. Like, I think a big piece of the puzzle is going based on how we're feeling and then figuring out what we can add in so that we feel a little bit more balanced. Not like we're balancing life, but just like in our body internally, we feel this balance where when we almost hit the rage, we can break it and walk away, which is
I think that's interesting.
The hardest part of life.
So let me ask you a question. As far as like the most bang for your buck type thing to eat for breakfast, would you think it's a hard-boiled egg? Is that the biggest like of no? Tell me, what's the secret?
An egg is what, 6 grams of protein?
Yeah, like 5 to 6.
5 grams of protein, something like that.
It's the same if you hard boil it or cook it or any of that. It's 5 to 6 no matter what. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, a slice of turkey bacon from Trader Joe's is 6 grams of protein, and I can eat 2 slices and still have room. Whereas 2 eggs is it for me. I'm done. That's the meal. Right. So for me, 2 slices of turkey bacon, and then I can still have an egg. I can still have cheese. I can still have other fiber and fats and other things that make a nice, well-rounded breakfast. Whereas if I have 2 eggs, I could put a little cheese on there. I could put a little salmon in there, but then that's basically it. But it also has to come down to what you like, what you will eat, that kind of thing.
And how, I know this is like a silly question, but like, how do you cook the turkey bacon? Do you just microwave it? Do you put it in a frying pan? Like, how much effort is involved in that?
I mean, I'm a cast iron girly, so I wake up, I turn the cast iron on, I click the kettle on as the cast iron is heating and the water is boiling. I pull the turkey bacon out, and then whatever. If I'm going to do scrambled eggs with salmon, or I'm going to do a piece of toast with cheese, or like whatever I'm going to do along with it, and then I just throw it in the skillet while it's going. I use a little avocado oil in the skillet just to grease it up a bit. But
we do a lot of air frying.
Yeah.
So you can put eggs in the air fryer for like 8 minutes. They become hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, wow. I do them in my Instant Pot.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we put the turkey bacon in there, but I love burgers for breakfast. I'm a big burger. So I'll do bison or turkey burgers, and then I know we're not going to do cheese, but I do some cheese. I'll put some avocado on it, some arugula with olive oil or avocado oil. And then I put my seeds with that as like a little mini side salad. But my husband is always like, all right, you're eating burgers again. I'm like, yep, my period's coming. I need more.
Oh my God. When I have my period, my husband just turns to me and he goes, what night would you like a steak? And I'm like, good man. You are trying not to have me murder you. I am aware of that, but I will say Tuesday. No, absolutely. And it's funny because my daughter's 14 and she had her period when she was on a teen tour this summer. And she's like, I feel like I need meat. And I go, I'm going to give you one pass tonight. Go find a restaurant that has a steak. Spend more than I would let you spend normally, but I get you. I see you. Go get yourself a steak. And then her friends were all like, we don't want to spend that much money. So she got some chicken sandwich. And I'm like, you have failed. And I gave you an open offer in the name of menstruation and you failed. Okay. So I want to ask you 2 more questions. You mentioned avocado. That's one of our favorite things that I have in the house consistently. So what's the protein level of that?
Good question. What's the other question?
My other question is, you mentioned seeds before and you just mentioned seeds now, and you said like seeds with like cycles. So that's something I actually don't know a lot about, except my stepmother's a big fan of chia seeds, but I know nothing about it except hearing her talk about them. So I'd love to know some more.
So I love seed cycling. And right now, once you get your period back, this would be a really good place to start.
Okay.
When you get that. So we'll have time, you can order them, you can get everything set up, ready to go.
Okay.
If it doesn't come back for a while, you can start seed cycling with the moon cycle.
Okay.
And you can just Google what phase of the moon you're in. So basically when you get your period, that's the first day of your cycle. So adding in flax seeds, I can send you a graphic. We had one that
would be helpful. Yeah.
I'll like send it to you in your DMs.
Yes.
Also
slide it into my DMs.
Listen to the podcast episode.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We did a whole one on seed cycling.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Excellent. Yes. Yeah. And tell me if it's available at or not at Trader Joe's.
All of these seeds are available at Trader Joe's. You would want to grind them.
Okay. And how does one grind a seed?
I use my coffee grinder.
I was going to say a coffee grinder, but you can't just like go like that or something. It has to be
You can. Or a
blender. Mortar and pestle, perhaps.
Okay. Like if you're going to make a smoothie, you can throw them in whole in the smoothie. And then
like a food processor.
Okay.
Yeah. Or food processor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you're feeling rage, you can definitely take a
take it out. Yeah.
Didn't we all register for Mortar and Pestle when we got engaged for our wedding and somehow just have a thing thinking you're going to make guacamole, but you don't?
Yes, exactly. You could totally use that. So you want to focus on the flax seeds and the pumpkin seeds in the first cycle. And you're going to do 1 tablespoon of each of those.
Okay.
And then that's when that basal body ovulation comes into play, because that's when you want to switch over, because you might think you're ovulating on a certain time and you might be ovulating a little bit earlier or a little bit later. And then you're going to do sunflower and sesame seeds. And those are, again, 1 tablespoon each. And then when you get your period, you start the whole cycle over again. Yeah. So my friend has a company called Funk It Wellness, and I order her seeds I order the seed cycling packets from her, but you can totally go to Trader Joe's. You can use a coffee grinder. You can like make them yourself. That's just how my brain my mom brain right now. I need someone to send me my seeds every month. But
oh my God. So instead of licking a progesterone tree, I could just start seed cycling.
yes.
I am so in. That is so helpful because that is like an exact, easy, real life thing that I can try and I can buy at the store I go to. It's like an actually running joke that we don't have a coffee grinder, but maybe this is my impetus to buy a coffee grinder. I love that.
Yeah.
I know it's like a very funny long story that we don't have one. Someone offered us one, then we forgot it. Then we anyway. It's one of those, my husband doesn't want anything else on the counter type conversations, and we don't really need it. So we haven't been able to justify bringing it into our home. But
yeah,
as long as Trader Joe's is where we shop. We basically at this point, like I could do a commercial about Trader Joe's. And it's funny because I feel like I've had this conversation with so many people where I can't actually tell you that everything there is healthy, but I feel like there's some sort of person that sits in Moravia, California, or wherever it's called, and says like, this is healthy, we can have this in the store. No, this is not healthy, we can't have it in the store, right? Isn't there this like weird feeling? I know.
But I have a friend who's a chef and he did a year of developing recipes for Trader Joe's. And so no, health was not one of the things.
Tell me that.
He had to
but I feel like when you're looking at the high sodium, like Chinese chicken dishes, that's definitely not healthy. But like, I almost feel like when you go in and buy other things, and also because it's a smaller thing, it's a smaller supermarket, you feel like there's one type of something and you think this, grand puma of health is approving it or disapproving it.
I will say their nuts and seeds do have, you have to still check because some do, like the peanuts have peanut and sunflower oil in them, but like the raw cashews don't have any oil. Yep. Where if Whole Foods actually sells most of its nuts and seeds with seed oil.
Huh.
It drives me insane. But Trader Joe's do have great options in terms of nuts and seeds. Just take a quick look because one bag might have it and the other might not.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to be mindful about.
Yeah, and an avocado, a medium avocado has 3 grams of protein. So it's not a heavy hitter, but it's something.
It's good for
surprising. I would have thought it would be more. Right.
Yeah. It's more fiber. And actually, an avocado is really good form of fat and fiber.
Okay.
So to me, I think of like, if I'm going to have a meal with avocado, I need to add protein to it, but it's a good source of the fat and fiber. So like of the 3 building blocks of a healthy meal, it knocks 2 out.
Yeah. Just add the eggs.
Yeah, just add the eggs. Exactly.
Yeah. And the cheese, I usually like Jarlsberg cheese, which doesn't bother my stomach. It has no lactase or has it. I don't know, whichever it is. Yeah. So, all right. So I should.
In bulk.
So next steps, we're going to really think about nourishment and really take a closer look at adding in more food. And it's probably going to take time for your body to be okay eating earlier because your body is not used to it. One thing too to be mindful about is when you wake up not hungry after not eating for that long, it could also mean that your body's in a state of stress. Mm-hmm. So eating should help your body feel better in terms of like your blood sugar and your cortisol, that stress hormone. Mm-hmm. We're going to start some seed cycling and maybe look into going to CVS or a Walmart or Walgreens or something today and getting a basal body thermometer and trying to track ovulation that way.
I think I have that from back in like the trying to get pregnant days. Yeah. So you said, and I know you're going to send me something, but you said flax, pumpkin. What were the other 2 seeds?
Sunflower and
sesame.
And those are all ones that I love. We actually have sesame seeds and we cook with them sometimes. I love all that stuff. Yeah.
And you could add it to smoothies, salads, bowls,
sauce,
anything. I eat them with anything.
Although the flax if you put flax into things, just remember it will thicken it. So it's great if you want to thicken a sauce, but if you're trying to go for like a thin soup, that's not a good combo.
And then what would you suggest? Because if I'm not eating till like noon, you think I should eat earlier?
Just try something small. Like I can't eat first thing in the morning. I've never been good at eating in the morning. My mom is not either. She and I are like, why are you eating food? It's early. But just try one thing. Even if it's just one hard-boiled egg. Or if it's, just one little thing, that's the start. And then give your stomach a little time, have some water, that kind of thing. But try and do the protein before you dive into the other stuff.
Right.
I was even going to say you could move your almonds down. You know what I mean? Like
you
instead of
you laugh. It was a spike diet. I lost like 20 pounds.
Which works in your 20s and your 30s, but when you hit your 40s and your 50s, that's not going to work. It's just you're putting your body into a state where it's going, oh my God, we're starving. We need to hold on to everything. And we're going to just make fat because we are in a starvation era.
Right.
So rather than lose weight, you're going to keep it.
That's actually really interesting. So as somebody that doesn't eat in the morning or like eating in the morning, what time do you normally like start with your turkey bacon station?
Within an hour.
Within an hour of when you wake up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like Katie and I are both on thyroid meds and they don't want you to eat for an hour after you take it. So like when I have appointments and stuff in the morning, I set my alarm, I take my thyroid med, I go back to sleep. I have 2 alarms and then I have the alarm to get up to get ready to go do stuff.
Oh, wow.
Right. So you want to eat within an hour of getting up so that you're establishing that blood sugar metabolism. You need to eat. So you have to turn on your metabolism. And the only way to do that is to eat something. And the best thing to eat is that protein, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
You want to eat something within that first hour of getting up. Katie and I both are like sitting there ready to eat at the hour mark.
That's interesting.
Sometimes I eat earlier. I'm telling you, some days I wake up. I don't know if you both feel like this, but you wake up and you already feel like you've missed the boat. Like you're like, your body just feels like it's jump starting on you.
Yeah.
That's when I know that I need to put some protein in even earlier because I already feel my body, that anxiety or like the stress just happens sometimes. And I'm like, okay, today I'm just going to eat a little bit earlier and I'll just, I won't eat everything, but I'll have like a few cashews. And then I automatically can feel my body like that feels calmer.
Yeah. What do you think of turkey cold cuts compared to turkey bacon and also the whole fat Greek yogurt from Trader Joe's?
Love it. Love it all.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just going to say your process of cast iron, like to me, I hear that and I'm like, I want to pull it out of the fridge, shove it in my face and like open up my laptop.
Yeah.
So that to me is like the bar of entry, which I am not going to do. Like we have these Applegate Farm turkey sausages that are chicken and apple sausages that my kids love, that I love. And I feel like you can nuke those and take 30 seconds. And I hate to say that I'm the lazy person that wants to throw something in the microwave, but especially for breakfast where I'm like getting 3 different kids ready for 3 different buses.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like are cold cuts okay? I know they're processed and blah, blah, blah. But like if you buy a healthier one.
If you're getting the Applegate, then
Applegate
absolutely.
ones from Trader Joe's.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Totally.
I like the quiet in the morning because I feel like I'm assaulted. If I open up my computer first thing in the morning, I can feel my cortisol spike. Like I feel assaulted. I need the time to boil the water and make the tea and feed the dogs and stand outside with my mug and stare at the clouds. And I need that. Otherwise, I immediately feel anxious and I spend the whole day in anxiety overdrive. And so like I need that moment. Yeah. But I need the dogs eggs. Okay. For their breakfast.
Okay. No, but it's like we back a water basin. So my like morning process like that is I've started adding all of these dried spices to my coffee for anti-inflammatory purposes. So I have my little process is I add all my spices, I like swirl it around, I have a cup of coffee, and then I sit at my table and I look at this water basin that basically makes it look like we live on a lake. And that's like my process. I have a cup of coffee, I have a second cup of coffee, and then I kind of ease into my day. So it's not like I wake up and open my laptop.
But before the coffee.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to throw a wrench into this.
Scoop the yogurt out, have a couple scoops of yogurt, have your 4 almonds, maybe 5 if you're feeling crazy.
That's a vastly different diet. Water. I cannot talk about that. Okay.
Drink some water.
I'm a big water drinker too.
Yeah.
What do you think about, what do you think about the world of collagen and all of this?
Love it. Yeah.
So where would you add that in? Like I have one of those greens with collagen. I have fiber with collagen, all these things that I just want to use up because they just sit on my counter.
I love the bone broth.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Bone broth piece. And I add collagen to the bone broth for extra collagen.
I add the collagen to my tea. in the morning,
Maybe it's hard.
especially like this morning, since it was an early start for me. I had my like little bit of bacon and then I threw some collagen into my tea because I was like, I know I'm not eating. It's too early for me to eat a full meal. So yeah, I threw the collagen. So it goes into my tea unless I have a nice full breakfast. And then it's like my snack. I throw it into my afternoon tea or my water or smoothie or whatever for like a little extra proteiny snack.
And it's the powder. You guys use the powder, like the scoop powder. Okay.
Mhm.
And is there one in particular? Like I was buying the one they sell at Trader Joe's, and then somebody sent me like, it was like a green, like an ancient grain and greens and collagen. So that's what I'm using now. I'm about to finish it up. And then I have Metamucil fiber and collagen, and I'm trying that one. But is there like a specific type of collagen? Or I met someone at an event last week that said their company is coming out with a drinkable, not powder, collagen geared toward perimenopause, and it's you open it and shoot it, which I thought was interesting.
We order Great Lakes, but I also get it from Sprouts. So depending on what their sales situation is, but Great Lakes is a nice one. Really, you just want to look at the label and make sure it's like grass fed, no sugar or food dyes or flavors.
Primal Kitchen has one, Vital Proteins. And then, they do sell, a few of my friends have been talking about, like, it almost tastes like a gel that they're selling.
Jello?
I feel like I would like the
berry
powder more.
flavored. Right? Yeah, like I'm just more into the berry. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that she said they're specifically targeting perimenopause with this collagen. So that's why
it's because no one knows anything about perimenopause, because we never learned how to eat for our cycle, because we never learned that we need to nourish, because we never learned any of this stuff. It is really big business to sell the perimenopause cure-all pill, whatever.
Absolutely.
Is, which I'm not against in some cases, because you know what, if that's collagen and it's in something that you will eat and use, fantastic. But some of it, you're just selling it for the sake of making money off the backs of our unfortunate ignorance. And that makes me a little angry and crazy. So I'm a real deep dive into that company and what happened and how we got there kind of person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, again, like, I feel like I'm a running conversation about Trader Joe's, but like they had it on the thing, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try it. And then I used to drink it all. And then, like I said, some other companies sent me other ones. And so I was like, I don't have to buy it this week. I'm just going to use whatever this thing is.
Absolutely.
But I guess the bigger question was, is there anything more involved and intense than just whichever one is in front of you? That one should work for now, as long as obviously it's like well made and good and all that stuff.
No, I mean, really, my only thing is I would pitch it if it has sugar in it or if it has weird dyes or chemicals in it, then I would just throw it away. But otherwise, I'm a pragmatist. I would use it. Free sample. Hell yeah, bring it on over.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, perfect. Cool. So is there anything else? I know we have to stop soon. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Or is there a follow-up? This was so much fun.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Honestly, I was going to suggest trying this for a few months, like just the nourishment, the seed cycling, and then let's have you back on in the new year and see how you're feeling. And because things might be shifting and changing as well. And like we can reevaluate and have another conversation.
I love it. I'll be tall and thin and totally chill.
But also, doctor, you need to either find a new doctor or supplement with a different doctor who's got a little bit more education, because if their first instinct is to put you on the pill, and I'm saying this more for the listeners than necessarily you at this point, but if your doctor is like, oh, you're in perimenopause, go on the pill. End of, thank you very much. I'll take that under advisement. And then you go home and you find a new doctor.
Yeah.
Because again, the birth control pill is progestin, which is an inflammatory synthetic, where what you need, especially in perimenopause, is progesterone, which is an anti-inflammatory bioidentical, right? So why would we take something that's inflammatory to fix a problem that's quite literally the result of not getting enough of the anti-inflammatory progesterone? Like you're doing the wrong thing in that moment. So yeah, the birth control pill, like it does have its time and its place. It needs to exist. People need it. There's definitely situations where that is the answer, but perimenopause, that's not really the answer.
Absolutely. And can I give a plug to my site?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm a blogger and content creator, and my site is called The Mint Chip Mama. So if people want to check out what I'm writing about perimenopause or other kind of fun things, it's the Mint Chip Mama, MAMA, across all socials or .com. And clearly I love mint chip, which I have in moderation.
I love mint chip too.
I love that. I think everyone should go follow that blog and just see the journey unfold.
Yeah. It's really, you have such honesty and humor, and it's a great, I think it's just fun to be so honest and open, and everyone's going through this that are in this perimenopause place. So the more that we talk about it, the more that we have aha moments, the more that we can just better take care of each other. Like, one of the most important things is having that community. So welcome to our community, and we're excited to see you soon.
Thank you. I'm excited to seed you soon. Wah, wah.
Want a video of you with the mallet banging with the seeds.
Imagine. So every 2 days after my ovulation, I just beat piece of crap out of these seeds. You can find them at Trader Joe's.
Like the Midwestern mom on TikTok, where she's like, now we have to beat the nuts and get out all that nice Midwestern rage, and just like crazy eyes into the camera while she bangs the crap out of nuts.
Yeah. Or I could think about what's the next holiday for which I could purchase a coffee grinder for myself as a gift. It's amazing. No, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much. I know you have to go. This was so wonderful. I would love to come back and talk to you. And I am putting flax, pumpkin, sunflower, and sesame on our shopping list. And you said flax and pumpkin the first 2 weeks and sunflower and sesame the second 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how excited I am for just that, which seems to be such a simple solution. And I feel like with so many of these things, whether it actually helps with what I want to believe or it's a psychosomatic thing, I'm going to channel my healing energy onto seeds and believe in it. And I think that will help, if nothing else.
I mean, I got to tell you, the reports and reviews from people, and like Katie and I both have clients who completely transformed. And in perimenopause, the amount of women that have started doing it with just the moon cycle, because their periods were crazy, like 60 days between periods and stuff. So they were just doing it with the moon cycle. But the positive outcomes for so many people, it just remind yourself of that, because honestly,
and seeds,
it's incredible.
Seeds. I love that. I think that's my takeaway today. I'm so excited about that.
I love it.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for being on the episode with us. We can't wait to talk to you again in the new year so we can see how it's going and hear everything. And thanks to everyone who's listening. If you want to get some live coaching, feel free to email us. The email is in the show notes. And hopefully we'll see you all here for the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties Podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bresek, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebresek.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.